Well, people, just got back from a late screening of After the Hunt, right? This is the brand new film from Luca Guadagnino. I think I'm pronouncing it right, right? It is written by Nora Garrett. The film is produced by we have Alan Mandelbaum, Luca Guadagnino, Brian Grazer, and Jeb Brody. It is then co-produced by Christopher Sargent, Daniela Venturelli, executive produced by Jason Wilkes, Karen Lunder, Nora Garrett, and Alice Dawson. We have got, right, Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross once again with the score, right? Last week they did Tron. This week it's After the Hunt. You know what I mean? They are busy dudes. On cinematography, we have got Malik Hassan Saeed. Editing the piece is Marco Costa. Right? Casting was handled by Jessica Ronan. Set decoration is Stefano Baisi. Art direction, we have Anthony Caron Delune and Tom Steele with Sue Whitaker. Then we've got what would this be? For whatever reason, sometimes my IMDb goes French, and then I have to decipher what are the roles. Okay, so, oh boy, let me just check something out to try and work this out, because I'm a little, ain't gonna lie, I'm a little bit confused, people. Okay. Right. I might have done it a bit wrong. Right, so Stefan Baisi is production design, I believe. So set decoration is Lee Sandals. Wardrobe, we have Gulia Persante. Hair and makeup is Francis de Havas, Alberto Del Macchie, Alex Foster, Massimo Gattaruzzi, Megan Kipence, Anna Lubbock, Chris Lyons, Daniel Nassassi, Camille Nava, Fernanda Perez, Amy Sampson, Melissa Van Tongren. Then people, we have got okay, let's have a look. Okay, so alright, we don't have any I don't think we've got any stunts in this one. Doesn't seem to be anyone listed anyway. So let us go to our cast, right? Because the cast was very good. You know what I mean? We got some very talented people doing their thing in this, right? So we have got Alma, who is played by Julia Roberts. Her husband, right, Frederick, is played by Michael Stuhlbarg. We then have got Alma's colleague and former lover, Hank, played by Andrew Garfield. And then there is her top student and mentee, Maggie, played by Ayo Edebiri. Right? Maggie's partner is Alex, right? Played by Ayo Edebiri. There is Dean Thomas, played by David Lieber. We have got a friend of Alma's, a colleague, right? Dr. Kim Sayers, played by Chloe Savino. Who else is there? Right, the dean's secretary, right? Patricia, played by Christine Dye. We have got, there's some students, right? There is Katie, played by Thaddy Graham. There's Arthur, played by Will Price. We've got Billy, played by Nora Garrett. Right. Favola, played by Liani Olan. Wendy, who is Frankie Ferrari played Wendy. She also played the pharmacy tech and Kim's secretary. Right, so there's that person. We have Daphne Walgreens, played by Burgess Bird. Peter, played by Arion Kassam. Right, Marcus, played by Cesar Francesili. One of the other lecturers, played by Nigel Finzi. Right, Professor Hugo Micheron was played by Professor Hugo Micheron, right? So, that's it, essentially, right? The gist of the story. A college professor finds herself at a professional and personal crossroads when a star pupil levels an accusation against one of her colleagues and a dark secret from her own past threatens to come to light. So this is the film. And, right, as I say, look, Luca has made some interesting stuff, right? Some interesting stuff. Some of it I dug, some of it, not so much, but it's interesting, right? I didn't necessarily, I think the last thing I watched the piece was Queer. Wasn't a huge fan, but I believe it was well received, And I think that you can probably say that about most of his stuff. It is well received on the whole. And so, I was intrigued to check this out. The cast was very good. Right? It seemed to get a lot of good word of mouth from its festival run. So it starts off, right? And there is this ticking. Like it, the kind of sound from a big grandfather clock, right? And this ticking goes on for at least a couple of minutes, right? Probably longer. And in this scene, right, that we see, we've got Alma in bed, right? Frederick comes, gives her a tablet, she wakes up. does she throw up? I don't think she does throw up. But she gets ready. She leaves the house, right? And then people at university. And all this time, we have this ticking. It is. Oh. Could have done without it, people. Could have done without it. Anyway, so we hit the credit, like the opening credits. And then we're at a dinner party. Right? It's at Alma's and Frederick's. And we've got Hank there. There's Maggie, right? There's other students. And it's all a bit insufferable, really. I mean, the thing is, most of the people in the film are insufferable. Right? There is no one that you actually like. You know what I mean? And even there might be someone you think, okay, this one seems okay. And then next thing you know, they're doing something just ridiculous. And you're just like, Jesus Christ, is everyone a narcissist? Right? It does kind of feel a bit like the whole Dawson's Creek situation or Gilmore Girls situation, right? Where you kind of find everyone speaks the same, right? Everyone kind of speaks the same. And, I get it, right? You hit certain groups of people, right? They've all got similar experiences. They come from similar backgrounds. So they're kind of the same in that regard. But I feel, in a group of people, not everyone is agreeing and not everyone believes exactly the same thing. You know what I mean? And these people, it felt that they were all so similar. It was just odd. Just felt odd. Right? And, at this party, everyone's like, we have these lecturers and they're hanging out with their students, right? And look, I've heard, of lecturers that do that kind of thing. But there's a lot of touching and inside each other's personal spaces. And you're kind of thinking, these aren't stupid people. So what the fuck are they doing? Right? Like, no one is going, maybe this might be deemed inappropriate or certain, right? Which then leads us to this thing that happens, right? So after the party, Hank walks Maggie home, and the next thing we kind of see is this little table, like in a living room, you know what I mean? Little kind of coffee table thing with a couple cups on. It's a bit mess, right? Camera pans up and you have Maggie in kind of a night t-shirt, and she has a kind of a weird look on her face. And it's not like I wouldn't say it's a look of fear or sad. It's just an odd look, right? And also it's kind of at a distance, so I'm not you know what I mean? Like, for me to try and read it is harder, right? But so we have this. Then the next day we're back at uni and Maggie isn't there, right? So then our events lead into these revelations and things like this. And it's all a bit weird, right? I would say it's all a bit weird, the way this story kind of rolls out. Because you have people lying about things and these half truths and weirdnesses. Oh, one thing as well. Throughout the film, Alma is, because at the beginning we see Frederick give her tablets. We do not know what these tablets are. We do not know what is wrong with Alma, but she's constantly being sick, right? Holding her stomach. She's in pain. So this is a thing that's going throughout the film, right? And we know she's returned to work from something. So it's just like, okay, was it a big illness, right? Did she have cancer? What's the gist? But she then does something, and there's repercussions from the thing she does later in the film. But you're kind of like, again, not stupid. So you're a little bit baffled why she does the thing she does, right? Because it's not as if a question was asked and then was rebuffed. And maybe that had happened, but we don't know. So it then makes her actions just kind of weird and out of place. You know what I mean? It doesn't kind of work story-wise because we haven't built into it. We haven't layered it or anything. So we have these things going on. There's a point in the film where Maggie says to, Alma says to Maggie, if it's real to you, then it's real. Which, yeah, that's not true. That's not true at all. Because someone can go, I have a feeling like that you've done something wrong. I don't trust you. And it's just like, okay, so that they've got this feeling and they're like, it's real to me. Then it's not real, right? It's a false memory, a false, belief, right? Sometimes shit ain't real, right? Even if someone says it is real. It was just a weird thing to say from supposed learned people, right? Because, we have another bit where she goes off on a student about, philosophy and perception and all of this kind of thing. There's a lot of different threads. And a lot of the time it all feels a little frayed, a little obtruse, I'm like watching this thing and you can go that like some of the performances are okay, right? I mean, the performances themselves on a whole aren't terrible, but I'm not blown away by this, because I think a lot of it just feels a little OTT, right? A little over the top, right? Some of the actions and things people do. And again, right, there is a justification for doing certain things when you know certain things, right? Otherwise, you're going to be like, what are we doing? Like we have Alma like reveal like this whole dark secret that Alma has. She, lets it out towards the end of the film, right? Basically the end of the film. And you are just like, what the fuck are you talking about? Right? Like, what are you talking about? Like, it makes no sense because, again, she's a learned person, right? She's not stupid. So what she's saying makes absolutely no sense, right? Because we have this kind of analogy, right? This kind of situation broken down earlier in the film, right? I think she references it to someone, like the the hierarchy of the relationships, right? And then I think Kim, right, when she's talking to Kim then breaks it a similar thing down in a way. So you're like, okay, so you understand what this is. So your revelation, it's stupid, right? Now, you could say, right, there are things that you can pinpoint in it, right? That you could go, there's a regret, right, for the aftermath of the thing. But, I mean, like, the thing that happened ain't cool. You know what I mean? It's just like you can turn it on its side. You can turn it upside down. Squint your eyes. It ain't gonna make it into, you know what I mean, a bunch of roses. It's still a turd, right? It's still wrong, right? So, yeah. The film is kind of full of that, right? This kind of pseudo psychology, right? Where you're just like, what are you talking about? You're really like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, this thing makes no sense, right? We have this weird meeting at the end, which again is very odd, right? It's kind of very odd. Like, just the way the film really, because we do this 5-year jump kind of thing, you know what I mean? Now, there is something on a computer screen, right? We have someone sitting in front of their computer and they're looking at an email, right? And the camera's on this email for a little bit. So I'm assuming there is something that is said in this thing, but I can't see it. I have no clue what it says, right? There was no one kind of around that I could ask after the film had finished. So, I have no clue what the email says. I thought it might be on the Wikipedia or something. It's not. So, yeah, I have no clue. But we have characters in these new roles, as it were. And it's all a bit like, I don't know how you would get there, right? I don't know how that's going to happen or that's going to, like, there's a lot of odd things. There are a lot of odd things with the film. So, I don't know, right? I am kind of baffled by it. I'm underwhelmed by it. It feels like this exploration of social dynamics and social norms wanted to be told. And they were like, oh, if we do it in this kind of setting, that will be great. And yes, but it just comes off as rather pretentious and aloof, right? So it's hard to associate with it, to emphasize with it, because as I said, none of the characters feel like they are redeemable or likable. You know, we have this whole thing of, is this thing true or not? But you gotta go, like, kind of, we don't know, but actions kind of speak pretty loudly. So what we see throughout the film kind of speaks to the whole thing. But it's all very odd, right? And you would think there is a point, right, where maybe some clarity on something comes to someone, right? Because of what they have now bore witness to. And if that's the case, you kind of feel in that situation, you would call someone out. You know what I mean? But yeah, I don't know, people, right? I might be wrong, you know? I might be wrong. You may see this and go, this was some of Luca's best work. This was incredible. And I just missed the point. Maybe that's the case, right? I think if you liked Queer, you could probably very much enjoy this. I would imagine, you know? But, yeah, I did. As I said earlier, I did not. So, you know, maybe this just wasn't for me. You know what I mean? Maybe that's the case, right? Now, it did remind me of this film that Justin Long was in. And I'm trying to think of what this frigging film was called, because in it he played a teacher, right? He played a teacher, and this kind of situation occurs, right? These accusations and all of this kind of things happen. Hold on, I'm having a quick little look. So I will be able to tell you what that film was, I imagine. Because it came out, gosh, I think a few years back. Okay. I didn't even realize this film came out that long ago. It was After Class, right? Which says it came out in 2019, which is kind of crazy. I thought it was just maybe a year or so ago. But yeah, After Class. Like, now, I enjoyed After Class more, right? Because I kind of felt that everyone in After Class, it felt a bit more normal, a bit more down to earth, right? Like, it wasn't, I don't think it was set at a top university or something, right? Maybe this is how everyone at Yale or something does talk and act, but yeah, I don't know. It as I say, it just felt rather pretentious. But if you like Queer, right? If you enjoyed, I don't know, like if you like Luca's other films, because he does have that kind of similar voice, right? So you may very well enjoy it. But yeah, it's doing its thing in the cinema. So if After the Hunt, it feels like it could be your kind of thing. As I said, it's like this psychological drama, right? Looking at these philosophical predicaments in a way, you know what I mean? So yeah, it's out in the cinema, people. You may want to see it, you may not. But yeah, these are my thoughts on After the Hunt. I will say as well, the score, like, I think Ross and Reznor did a decent job with the score, right? Adding kind of trepidation, that's the kind of vibe it was giving. So it was fine, right? The only irritating thing was the tick-tocking. But at the very end of the film, firstly, we have Luca shout out "cut," which was very odd. And then the song, like the music in the end credits, was a complete 180 to anything, because, it was like this kind of, melodies and rhythms, and then there was a lot of jazz, right? And then we have this 180 to this song that's playing in the credits, and it was just like, what the fuck is this? It was very odd. It was an odd choice. But anyway, that's by the by, right? That's my thoughts on After the Hunt.